Hello folks, today's video is going to be a tanking guide specific to Flappy Nightmare, with the addition of reviewing the actual process from one of my past videos. Let's dive in. First of all, as you can notice, the boss is already on the ground. As a matter of fact, as soon as you enter this raid, both Elite and Nightmare versions by the way, initially the boss is flying around in the air. And it takes at least one person being on his platform to make it go down, which also takes a little while. In addition to that, the boss is acting erratically when that happens and might decide to queue up an auto attack on someone randomly, killing them in the process, as well as getting positioned in a suboptimal spot. For reference, between each phase, the boss seems to come down roughly 45 degrees further counterclockwise. Which means, for example, if you start and pull the boss in this spot, the next phase is gonna land over there, which is southeast part of the platform. And if you start tanking the boss over there, next phase is gonna rather land towards the northeast part of the platform. In this situation, it's much easier to have the boss land southwest, because the northwest part, there is a giant filth puddle, as you can see it here. And also the boss comes down further, so you'll have to wait some additional time to reposition it correctly somewhere more south of that spot, which is just not ideal. With all that said, upon entering the raid, one random person should just jump down to make the boss land and then suicide. And after doing that, the boss will always be spawning on the platform and walking around, which is what we want. Now, when it comes to tanking the boss during Aegis mismatch phases, the main rule is to have defensive steam and kickbacks up and running on long mismatch phases. On pull, the first phase is not long and lasts 12 to 15 seconds tops at most, so you can get by tanking it without defensive steams, simply with having illusion in its passive up. Passive's name is Master of Illusions, and that ends up giving you 45% evade chance for 8 seconds. Also, do note that you can see the boss's Aegis type by targeting it. In this example, it's red, so demonic damage. So you should always set a mismatching shield. In this case, purple is the shield you should be having. If you happen to wipe, sometimes the boss changes his Aegis damage. So be mindful and double check after every wipe, and change your shield to red if you see a purple icon here. As a reminder, the aggro is completely wiped every time the boss flies away. The other concern here is that since this phase is so short, the next phase comes up very quickly, in fact roughly 40 to 45 seconds into the fight. That means you cannot be using the agitation configuration on pull, otherwise you won't have it up for the next landing. To help out with the initial aggro in this situation, I'm using offensive steams and kickbacks instead of using actual defensive steams and kickbacks that you're supposed to be using on mismatch phases. The steams that I'm using is the attack rating steam and crit to crit power kickback, or you can also go for the pen to crit power kickback. Since we'd be having, quite some crits with illusion being up and having Jenkins procs from evades, giving us occasionally some guaranteed crits. And since steams and the kickbacks last for 20 seconds, which is quite a long time, you can use them when you're still on top of the safe platform, get your sprint back, and then run down and pull the boss. Last but not least, before pulling the boss, you should always have momentum at 5, which you can see I have here, and also here with my FXUI tracker. You get it by slotting the full momentum ability and then using it and then removing it. Again, for a quick rundown of the rotation now, you can either check the rotation section in my tanking guide in one of my previous videos, or simply keep watching this video. Now I'm going to play the video and comment on it as it goes. As you can see, I just used my offensive kickbacks. And I'm getting prepared to pull. You should be pulling the boss roughly like this, in this area. Now what I just did is, when you see the boss casting the lines, you can just dash through, and the boss will have to turn around for an additional auto attack after these lines, which potentially buys you a couple more seconds of damage in this phase, which is nice to have. As a matter of fact, as a reminder, this is a safe spot. There are no AoE and no lines coming here, so you can just be standing here between phases. As you can see, the boss comes up in this spot, which is a southwest spot, which is pretty cool, pretty easy. Now a little note regards to spiders that's gonna be coming up. You should be using Helter Skelter or even a whip on them, so people kill them faster. You can also use something like Shockwave, it's backup on them. Also, a little note here, as you can see, I've used my Stone Throw, but I didn't use my Shockwave early enough. This is a mistake. You should be lining up Shockwave and Stone Throw afterwards to proc the Mercurial augment and reduce Shockwave's cooldown. Otherwise, it might be a little bit late for the next upstairs phase, which you will see is what's gonna happen here. As you can see, the boss is about to blow up, and you still don't have your Shockwave up. It's not a big deal, but as you can see, we missed 2 to 3 seconds of magic vulnerability not being on the boss. So it's not ideal. By the way, as you can see, I have momentum at 2 right now. Obviously, you can't always get it at 5 between each phase. If it's at 2, on the next phase, you can start and build it up to 5 before using Shockwave and then Stone Throw. But if it's in less than 2, don't even bother. Just start with Shockwave and Stone Throw without momentum. It's gonna be fine either way because you'll have the agitation configuration up. Now, a quick note about the agitation configuration. As you can see, I just used it right now. Before even the boss is here on the platform. I did it because if you use it too late in this phase, it's not gonna come back early enough for the next phase. You're gonna be missing like 5 to 8 seconds on it. So be mindful to always use the agitation as soon as you land back on this platform. Also, this is a mismatch phase. My defensive teams are up and running. Okay, I took some damage, but this is nothing unhealable. Now, this is where we had the purple eruption. You should always be trying to move the boss closer to where the eruption happens so people can keep shooting the boss from where they are. I should have started to move the boss around a little bit earlier and faster. I didn't, but yeah, you can, unless you're in the phase where the boss is going to be aiming downfall on people. Yeah, you can just allow yourself to move the boss a little bit. Also, the spiders are coming, so again, you could be using Helter Skelter and even Shockwaves on them, or Whip. During different phases, sometimes you get adds, you can rebuild your momentum up to 5 on them. Now, the next phase, the boss will start doing downfalls, so be mindful of that. The boss always starts with the back lines, so position it facing people. And once it's done, position it the opposite way. By the way, there is an eruption happening. You can see it there. It's red. The eruption is always opposite color of what type of damage the boss inflicts. So here you can see it's psychic damage. So the eruption is always demonic in this case, and vice versa. Now you can see the downfall. You just dodge through it. And then it's 0 point pathogen, so backlines again. Now you can see Psychic Renewal cast. You should be having Helter Skelter for this and interrupt it. Sometimes you could have Shockwave backup for the Psychic Renewal, but sometimes the boss just casts the renewal earlier than intended. So this is the reason why you have Helter Skelter in the build. So there is no second downfall in this phase. There is a Tears of These phase right now. So in this phase, you do your same rotation. You still keep hitting the boss constantly to reapply Breaching Signet. You keep whipping the boss, and you keep using Shockwave on the boss to apply vulnerability. And you can also keep using Stone Throw to reduce people's cooldowns. And well, now as you can see, we capped the boss. But if you have less DPS, you're probably gonna get spiders during this phase. And then again, on spiders, you can use Chaotic Pool and Helter Skelter to interrupt them. And that's pretty much it. The next phase is gonna be mismatch phase. So you'd have your defensive teams up and running, and everything else is pretty much the same. You alternate between back lines and then turn the boss around with downfall so it doesn't face and doesn't land into people. And on the last phase, you just apply the whip and shockwave, and then you're good. By the way, let's get back to the previous mismatch phase real quickly. As you can see, I used my defensive teams here during this mismatch phase. Usually, my idea is that your defensive teams are the first layer, and you should be holding on the illusion and use it a little bit later during this mismatch phase. I'm gonna use it quite early here. Actually, as you can see, I took some damage here. I didn't evade this hit. I didn't even glance it. So I used it immediately after getting hit. But yeah, if you don't really get hit that hard, you can just hold it a little bit longer. So yeah, it was something I would like to mention. Just keep your cooldowns, like defensive teams and illusion, a little bit separate. Don't use them all at the same time, otherwise at the end of the mismatch phase you won't have anything left. So yeah, try to tally your cooldowns a little bit. Now, quick note about spiders. If you end up using Shockwave or Helter Skelter or anything on them, this is gonna be very helpful, but this is assuming your DPS are focusing them down very quickly. Don't try to tank them, because you might straight out get one shot, especially if they have mismatching damage. So yeah, but keep that in mind. Don't try to tank them. Well, I hope this very quick guide helped you guys, and good luck, have fun. See you the next time.